Good afternoon. My name is Julia Coakley, Head of Operations. On behalf of the MGAA, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar this afternoon, which is being delivered by the CII. Before I introduce our presenter, I would like to run through a few housekeeping points. Please ensure your microphone and your camera is off. And if you'd like to ask a question, please use the chat button at the bottom of your screen, which will be answered during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If we run out of time and don't have an opportunity to put your questions to our presenter, Melissa will be happy to pick this up post-event. This presentation is accredited for CPD points if it's relevant to your ongoing professional development programme. The video will be uploaded to our MGAA YouTube channel and our website, and the slide deck will be available post-event. Please take time to respond to our SurveyMonkey questionnaire post-event, as this does enable us to put on the best quality events for our membership. So today's webinar, Chartered Status, Your Badge of Professionalism, is being delivered by the CII, and our presenter today is Melissa Collett, Professional Standards Director. Melissa is responsible for the professional body's legal affairs, risk management, disciplinary matters and governance, and is keen to raise awareness of best practice and drive ethical behaviour through engagement with the profession and external stakeholders. Melissa has an extensive background in consumer and legal issues and spent over a decade at the Financial Ombudsman Service. She was a director at Fairer Finance and sits as a tribunal judge. Melissa is also a qualified solicitor, specialising in insurance judging panels, specialising in insurance law at Hogan Lovells, and she is a frequent speaker at conference and events and sits on judging panels and is the author of numerous articles and publications on consumer law subjects. So Melissa, if I might hand over to you.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, and hello everyone and welcome to this session. So as Julia said, my name is Melissa Collett. I'm from the Chartered Insurance Institute, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to talk about Chartered Status, Your Badge of Professionalism. And for those of you who missed the chance to hear me speak at the recent MGAA conference, and I'm sure you're absolutely gutted about that, this is your golden opportunity to hear again why you should be chartered and how to go about doing it. So you've heard a little bit about me. My role title is Professional Standards Director at the CII. I lead on its professional standards, ethics and conduct activity. And please feel free. I just want to mention, please get in touch with me if you would like to after this session. I'm very active on LinkedIn. For those of you who know me, will know that. And I can be found by searching Melissa Collett CII, and I'd love to connect with you. So for the purposes of CPD today, this session has its own learning objectives. And so by the end of the session, you will be able to understand the value of chartered status, including what drives consumers to choose chartered. You should be able to explain what is the CII Chartered Ethos and how it contributes to enhance trust in the underwriting profession. And finally, understand how the CII can help MGAs on your professional journey. So my presentation lasts around 25 minutes. And there will be time for questions at the end, but I also am keeping that chat function open, and let's try and keep things interactive. So if you have a question or comment or observation to make, anecdote, funny joke, as you go along today, stick it in the chat and we'll see what we can do about addressing them as we go along. Okay, so open invitation for all of you. So the first bit of interactivity, I should say, is our poll question. So I want to find out a bit more about you. So can you let me know when you see your firm is becoming chartered? Do you think that you could become chartered in 6 to 12 months, 1 to 2 years, 2 to 5 years? You're not planning on becoming chartered at present, or is your firm already chartered? Let's have a look at the results coming through now. Just keep that open for a minute or so. And I'm just looking over at the poll results, which are coming up on the screen. And it looks like we've got a few people looking ahead the next 1 to 2 years, more people looking in the more longer term, and some of you not planning on becoming chartered at present, but hopefully we can turn that around today. So shall we just, mention that let's find out more. I want to talk to you about what chartered status is, what it means. And that's what I'm going to do in the first part of this presentation. And then we'll talk a bit about the benefits, and maybe we can see if we can turn some of you around. Okay, I'm going to close those results now, but very helpful to see. And let's carry on. So why choose chartered? Corporate chartered status is a shared public declaration of professional standards. The corporate chartered ethos is a set of commitments from chartered firms that sets those firms apart from others. And it's characterized by 3 main themes: nurturing knowledge, which is about developing the right expertise and investing in professional standards of competence; client centricity, about acting in the best interest of clients in order to drive up professionalism; and serving society, which is about being a good corporate citizen and building public trust. So what are the attributes of a chartered firm? Starting on the top right, they are accredited by a professional body with a royal charter, namely the CII. They invest in people with knowledge appropriate to their role. They exceed minimum regulatory standards, and they welcome scrutiny to improve processes and practice. They commit to an ethical code, and they have a positive role to play in society. So all this is designed to build public trust in chartered and achieve our vision, which is that the insurance profession is regarded with parity of esteem to the other trusted professions, such as law, accountancy, and medicine. So I'm just going to pause there. We've just talked about the attributes of a chartered firm, the chartered ethos, what it means to be chartered. Any questions or comments at this stage? I've got the chat function open right now. Is this what you expected? Okay, well, I haven't seen any comments or questions yet in the chat, so I'm going to move on. Let's now talk about some of the benefits behind chartered status. So we did some independent customer research over the years, and I'd like to share with you the results of that. So 80% of firms that we surveyed agreed that chartered status had enhanced the perception of their business, again, amongst prospective customers. And 69% of customers that we surveyed agreed that they would choose a firm with chartered status over a non-chartered one. 67% agreed it had helped them attract new staff. We're talking about firms now. And 90% of firms agreed that chartered status had enhanced the perception of their business as a professional organization for new staff. So I think these are very powerful survey results, really demonstrating that power of chartered status and how well it's recognized by the public and by firms in the sector themselves. So let's carry on now. And I just wanted to share with you some quotes from these chartered firms, which clearly demonstrate how they value their chartered status. So we talked about how customers would choose chartered and what motivates that 69% of individuals to choose a chartered firm over a non-chartered one. So what our research revealed, the reasons are, it's because the firm is an accredited professional body, it's committed to an ethical code of conduct, committed to good practice and good customer outcomes, and the firm invests in their employees and gives back to society. So these are some of the reasons given. And we also did research on why people would choose an individual chartered professional over a non-chartered one. And what our independent research showed is the public associated chartered professionals with high professional standards, a commitment to continuous professional development, to being proven experts in their field, and providing unbiased advice and working in an ethical manner. So those are all the things people associated with chartered individuals. Now I'd like to look at the chartered ethos in more detail and how it contributes to building trust in the underwriting profession. So as I mentioned previously, being chartered involves making a series of commitments to nurturing knowledge, client centricity, and serving society. And these three elements come together to create the chartered ethos. And this involves not only a commitment by the chartered firm, but also a commitment by us, the CII. Along with setting the criteria in the first place, the CII is here to make the chartered ethos a living, breathing concept and to help firms amplify and carry out those commitments to a broader set of stakeholders. So as you will see the joint commitments set out here, and you see how these work together to help build public trust. So one such joint commitment is to drive collaborative initiatives focused on social good. And an example of that is that in 2019, the CII required all chartered firms to have in place an equality, diversity, and inclusion policy. And in return, we pledge to monitor the impact of having such a policy in place and share examples of best practice that we've collated. So we ran this year our first chartered EDI survey, and now I'm going to share some of the results with you. So 40% of our charter firms took part in the survey, which is a pretty encouraging response rate, I would say. And one of the firms we asked, out of the firms that we asked, between 80% and 89% of small to medium large firms had family-friendly and carer-friendly policies in place. So we found that looking at those 80% of small firms and 89% of medium to larger firms, there is a commonality between all firms of all these sizes in terms of the practices most widely adopted to promote and embed EDI. And these include role modeling through leadership behaviors and having these family-friendly and carer-friendly policies in place. And I believe these are all very positive findings. But only a quarter of firms reported that they collect diversity data and measure against targets. Whilst this is understandable for small firms, it also seems to be a challenge for medium to large firms, with only 28% reporting that they do this. So we see our role as a professional body to help firms tackle challenges posed by EDI and give guidance to help firms to improve. We'll be using the findings from this survey to publish guidance in the near future. In the meantime, if you'd like more information, please see an article about the survey in the latest copy of the CII Journal. And also look out for an upcoming article featuring some of the EDI initiatives within charter firms, which is going to be out soon. So definitely have a look at the journal. So now I'd like to look at the Chartered Insurance Underwriting title in a bit more detail. And in terms of setting the scene, the CII has had existing chartered titles for insurers, brokers, and financial planners for some years now. But it did not have any title for those who were neither insurers nor brokers, but carrying out the role of an MGA or working within one. As you know, by being members of the MGAA, this is a large and growing sector with over 300 firms employing approximately 5,000 people, currently underwriting 10% of the UK's general insurance premiums. So really important. So we decided it was time to work with the MGAA and develop a new chartered title for this important community. So let's look at a few key stats and facts. So as I mentioned, after a lengthy period of development, we finally launched a new title in March 2020 in the Lloyd's Old Library. And it was a fabulous event. I wonder if any of you were there. If so, put it in the chat and let me know. Now, there are currently 8 firms holding the title, employing 193 people, and that's since launch. And there are 34 individuals currently holding the individual charter title. And we have had several events to promote the new title over the past year, including previous events with the MGAA. I talked about speaking at the conference recently, and we've also held events with Lloyd's. So those are some key facts about the new title. So let's have a look now at some of the benefits. So starting on the left side, what are some of the benefits of becoming chartered insurance underwriting agents? First of all, it's a recognized badge of professionalism. Secondly, it helps attract and retain the best talent. And thirdly, it helps firms differentiate from their peers. The majority of business clients and consumers say that they would choose a chartered firm over a non-chartered one. So I would see those as really being the 3 main benefits. So let's look at how you become a chartered firm. The criteria for becoming a firm of chartered insurance underwriting agents is straightforward. So starting on the top left, we expect firms to have a leadership team with CII qualifications and membership, 90% of core staff being members, if those staff have an impact on customers, commitment to professional development. So we expect firms to have an appropriate professional development program in place for all staff. We expect to see alignment with the CII's own code of ethics, meaning the firm has core values and business practices and an EDI policy that aligns with the CII's. The firm, we also expect to see an established trading history, which means 3 years pre-application trading history, or for Lloyd's approved entities, 1 year's pre-application trading history. And finally, we look for contributions to society. In other words, how does your firm serve society, for instance, through corporate social responsibility activities? So you may ask, why do we have all these criteria? The reason for all these criteria is that it's what the public would expect of a chartered firm. So for instance, when you consult a firm of chartered accountants, let's say, you wouldn't need to look hard to find a chartered accountant within the leadership team, nor would you find it surprising to find all accountancy staff being members of a professional body. So by committing on an individual basis and a corporate basis, this binds the firm collectively to a program of professional development and ethical behavior. So let's look at who can apply. So this title is for firms that underwrite on behalf of the risk carrier or taker. So essentially those firms which have the power of the pen, such as MGAs, cover holders, and some insurtech firms, those who write underwriting algorithms. Hopefully that covers all of you on the call today, but if you are something different, perhaps you could let us know in the chat. So how will the CII support you with your professional journey? Well, this is a journey with several milestones along the way. You start with certificate, moving on to diploma, and then advanced diploma. And each one builds on the next and involves a certain number of credits, as you can see here. And once you've achieved the advanced diploma, then you are all set to apply for chartered status. So on completion of the advanced diploma, you are then eligible to apply, so long as you have 5 years experience in the profession, membership of the CII, and you can evidence 3 years of CPD if required. And this slide shows you what the individual chartered badge looks like. The badge that you'll be able to include digitally on your LinkedIn page, in all your corporate stationery, in your email signature, and everywhere that you hold yourself out as a professional. And for those of you who already hold an individual chartered title and want to switch titles, if you work within the MGA sector, then this new title may more accurately represent your job role to customers. And it can also assist your firm in applying for the corporate title. This is because part of the eligibility criteria, as we've seen, is that an individual with the chartered underwriting title is part of the senior leadership team of the firm. So the good news is it's easy to switch titles. Simply contact our customer services center on the CII website via email or phone, and they'll be able to assist you. So how do we help you to get the most out of chartered status? Well, these are just some of the ways that we do that. For example, our chartered newsletter, our chartered podcasts and webinars, our chartered events, and our chartered advertising campaigns. So let's look at some examples of those. These are recent examples of our newsletters, events, advertising, and podcasts. And you'll recognize they are the Lloyd's Library, which is one of our favorite venues for live events. So, and hopefully convenient for those of you working in MGAs in and around Lloyd's. Another key way we support chartered firms is by helping you communicate your chartered status. So we have a wealth of materials to enable you to use the chartered badge to your best advantage. We call it the Chartered Toolkit. So the Chartered Toolkit, which is found on our website, is one of the most well-used pages for chartered firms, and you can find all the things you need there to communicate your chartered status, including customer handouts, an animated logo, wall plaque, web banner, social media graphics, window stickers, and much, much more. So before I conclude, I just want to leave you with a few quotes from some firms that have recently become chartered. So Peter Stadden needs no introduction. He's the former head of the MGAA, and now he's group non-exec chairman of Landmark, our newest chartered firm. And he said, "We are truly delighted at Landmark to receive chartered status. The MGA sector is an important one, which now has the chartered status setting a benchmark for Landmark and other MGAs." We also have a quote from Alan Rowe, Managing Director from Touchstone Underwriting. And he said, "We are proud to be both an approved Lloyd's cover holder and CII Chartered." We also asked Catherine Bell, the chairman of Magenta Insurance, and she said, "Chartered status is a way we can pull together as a profession and be viewed as a profession instead of an industry." And finally, a quote from Neil Johnston, Group Managing Director of Lorega, and he said, "Achieving the Chartered Insurance Underwriting Agents accreditation is an important recognition of our commitment to delivering quality services and maintaining the highest professional standards." So if you want to join Landmark, Touchstone, Magenta, and Lorega, then apply today. So in conclusion, these are the learning objectives, and I hope you agree that this webinar has met those objectives, namely to understand the value of chartered status, including what drives consumers to choose chartered, explain the CII Chartered Ethos and how it contributes to enhance trust in the underwriting profession, and understand how the CII can help MGAs on your professional journey. So to finish, I'm interested to know whether following this presentation, you are more or less likely to recommend that your firm apply for chartered status. So are you more likely, less likely, chartered, not quite right for your firm at this time, or are you already chartered? And it looks like you are more likely. Neck and neck, chartered isn't right for us at this time. I hope those of you who are answering chartered isn't right for us at this time, it's because maybe you have just started out, you've just started trading, perhaps you're not at Lloyd's and you need 3 years of trading history. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't contact us, because we can talk to you about getting everything in place so that when the time is right, you're all ready and all set to go, and you're doing the things you need to do now with your staff and your leadership team to be ready to press that button. So I would say to those of you who've clicked chartered isn't right for us at this time, it's always right to get in touch with us and let us help steer you in the direction that you want to go in, hopefully in the chartered direction. Thanks for those of you who answered the polls and listened to this presentation. I'm still waiting for the first person to dive into the chat. And maybe you could, one of the people who said chartered isn't right for us, they can explain why that is in the chat and give me a chance to answer their query or their particular issue directly. So really opening out that chat for anyone who wishes. Now, I still can't see anything in there, but you know.
No questions at the moment, Melissa.
No questions at the moment. It doesn't have to be a question. It could be an observation, a comment, you know, to show you're out there and you're listening. I'd love to see something in the chat, and we'll take it from there.
Melissa, while our delegates are thinking about what observations or what questions they want to put to you, I've got a couple of questions. And I know that we've got Martin, UK Marketing and Business Development Director on the call, and Mick, Corporate Development Manager, who hopefully will be able to answer if it's not appropriate for you. But if any of the delegates that we have on today are interested in taking forward or at least exploring chartered status, what would be their first steps? And perhaps more importantly, which area of their business should they be extolling the virtues of Chartered Title II? Do you see this as more of an HR or a learning and development area of the business?
Any of my colleagues want to take this one?
Hi Melissa, it's Martin. I was just typing actually. Hi everybody, my name's Martin Rouse. I'm the Marketing and Business Development Director at the CII. I was just offering, or just about to offer, if any of the firms or individuals want more detail or would like a face-to-face meeting to discuss some of the opportunities to become chartered, and particularly the journey that it might take to get to that chartered status, if you would reach out either through LinkedIn or email. My email address is martin.rouse, R-O-U-S-E, at cii.co.uk. Either myself or my team would love to come and meet you or chat. Our role is to support Melissa and her team and to support the profession, particularly when it comes to chartered status. So if that answers the question, great. And as Melissa said at the beginning of the call, if you want to reach out anyway to connect, that would be great. But please do reach out if we can help.
Thank you for that, Martin. No, that was perfect. As I say, it was really more a case of, if our delegates are interested in taking this forward, what would be their next steps? I do have another question, again, just perhaps giving our delegates further time to think about any observations or questions. I understand that it's possible for a qualifications audit to be conducted. So I've been working with Lisa Williams of the CII. So I just wanted to put that out there. And again, probably it's not so much of a question, but in terms of next steps, the requirements or the criteria for chartered insurance underwriting agent title is much to do with the qualifications of the staff members of individual organisations. So as I say, Lisa Williams has previously offered, if you're unsure whether your organisation has the adequate qualifications to meet the criteria, if you could reach out to myself or to Teresa, if you're more familiar with Teresa, to express your interest, and then I can hook up with the CII on that matter. And as I say, Lisa is always happy to look at a qualifications audit. So it would just mean providing the name of the individual staff members and date of births, conscious of GDPR, so it can be password protected and it can be sent straight to Lisa directly. I could make the introduction and Lisa would be happy to conduct a qualifications audit. So effectively the CII would be able to tell you if your business has already achieved the relevant qualifications to meet the Chartered Insurance Underwriting Agent criteria, or whether there are some gaps which would then enable you to focus your attention on where those gaps might need to be filled. So as I say, I just wanted to offer that nugget of information to delegates if they were interested in learning, what could be done and what additional support the CII could make. In addition, Martin, to what you said, thank you for providing your email address. If you do want to get in touch with the CII, please feel free to also come via the MGAA and we can make the relevant introductions post-event.
Thanks, Julia. So lots of ways really for people to get in touch. Martin, myself, Julia, MGAA, and I've also got on the slide here, Talk Chartered at CII.co.uk, and you'll get right to the team that can help you. You may even be eligible for charter right now. Who knows? So if you don't get in touch, you'll never know. But we can check that out for you. So do get in touch by any of the routes that we just mentioned. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, Melissa. We do have a question about costs, and I wonder if it may not be able to be answered on this call, but effectively the question is how much does it cost to become chartered? And I wonder whether Melissa, yourself, Martin, or Nick is able to answer that on this call.
Sure, I'm happy to answer that. To be a chartered CII, it costs individuals £230 per year, and there's a one-off admission fee of £37. And fees for corporate chartered firms depend on the number of employees in the firm. And there's an annual fee ranging from £500 for firms with up to 10 employees to up to £2,000 for firms with more than 251 employees. So it's kind of a bespoke price depending on the size of your firm and how many people within your firm hold the charter title. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Melissa. That's really helpful. And it's good to know that it's based on the size of the organisation and the qualifications, because, of course, there are some businesses that are perhaps financially in a better position to pursue something like this than others. But if it's consistent with the number of CII members within the organisation, that's most helpful, particularly to the smaller organisations, I suspect. I can see there that Martin has put his contact details within the chat, so that's also extremely helpful. I just wonder if there's no further questions or additional observations. Melissa, was there anything else that you wanted to add before we wind up today's webinar?
Well, for those of you who took the time to join us today, if you wanted to ask a question about your particular firm's circumstances, and you're happy to just share that in the chat, we can then follow up with you directly if you include your email address. So that's another way if you don't want to, discuss in detail right now, just put your email address and your query and we'll come back to you. Or even just your email address and we'll come straight back to you if you wanted us to.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Well, it just leaves me to say, Melissa, thank you so much for your time. It really is very much appreciated. It's an incredibly important part of our sector, and for public confidence in particular, to know that we are promoting both of our organisations' professional standards, and the importance of this is good. Martin as well, thank you for your input as well, and Mick, thank you for joining us. So to our delegates, thank you so much for taking the time to dial in. Hope you found this of use. As I said before, the webinar will be uploaded to our MGAA YouTube channel and our website, so do feel free once it's uploaded to share with your colleagues internally, and we will send the slide deck out post-event. So again, Melissa, Martin, Mick, thank you so much for your time, and have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.